Hello, beautiful people. How's it going? I promised you guys a Dune spoiler review, and I went to see Dune Part 2 again with my dad. So I went to the premiere, which I told you guys about, and then I watched Dune Part 1 with my dad because he hadn't seen Dune Part 1, and now we're here to discuss spoilers because I took him to the same theater that I saw it at the premiere, the IMAX at Galileo, my favorite cinema in the world, and I took notes, and they're really funny because I reread through them. So I actually thought what I'd do is I'd go through my notes and tell you exactly how I wrote it, because of course I'm trying to enjoy a film, so I don't want to be, writing and missing out on exciting stuff or scenes that I loved, and so me writing it quickly is kind of funny. So as I said before, the film is brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and I still stand by that. It is a 10 out of 10 movie. It is maybe the best sci-fi film ever created. A lot of people thought I was betraying Star Wars. No, never. I take Star Wars as a space fantasy because that's what George Lucas called it. So I think that's a space fantasy. To me, Dune is sci-fi, and maybe that distinction is because I heard what George Lucas said, so I stopped considering Star Wars sci-fi, but it's not in the same category. To me, it's not, threatened. Not at all. Nothing's going to take Star Wars, just like nothing's going to take Harry Potter or Game of Thrones. It's just never going to happen, and that's okay. Anyways, so first note I wrote was opening scene, amazing cinema. So the opening scene of the film, of course, it is right where the first one left off, which was a thing that I liked. It really felt like one big movie once you put them together. And just that scene where the Harkonnen are floating up like the side of a cliff. It was really beautiful and such a visually stunning scene. And then of course you have the machine for the sand that goes thump, thump, thump. It's just so wonderful to hear in an IMAX theater. The sound design of the film is just absolutely stunning. And of course, Paul's mom tells him never turn your back, which is something that Gurney said to him in the first film, and so watching them back to back, it was a really nice callback. And then the second note I put was mom's transformation. So Jessica becomes the Reverend Mother, and to me, the reason I love that scene so much is because it's so haunting, it's so scary, like genuinely terrifying. It's so interesting seeing her take the water of life, which we later find out is the pee of the sandworms, which I think is so funny, but it's poisonous. And the reason men can't handle it is because women endure pain better, but most people generally die. But because Lady Jessica takes the drink and she survives it, that gives Stilgar, played by the amazing Javier Bardem, the ability to say, oh my god, this is the prophecy, the mother and the son, and the mother will become the Reverend Mother, and she will drink the poison and survive. Meanwhile, Paul, Timothée Chalamet, is saying, my mom's been trained under poisoning. So, is it a prophecy, or is it something that she has prepared for her entire life? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I had no idea the movie was going to take that direction, which I just can't wait to speak about. Then, of course, there's the amazing scene where Paul says to Stilgar, I am not the one. And then Stilgar, it's like a jump cut, a sharp cut to Stilgar talking to his friend saying, he's so humble, he must be the one, because the one would never admit that they are the one. It's so funny, because it actually goes to show you that when a person truly is convinced about something, when they've put it into their minds that this is what I want to happen, they see it that way. You can never convince someone who is 1,000,000% on board with whatever it is they believe, which is somewhat nice, for me, because I am a religious person, but it also is scary when the film is depicting a false prophet. It's so interesting to see. Which then leads me to Zendaya and Timothy sandwalking at night. Again, this isn't a full play-by-play. This is just my notes and what I liked. I just think it's really cool. I think it's lit very well. I know a lot of people complained about Game of Thrones season 8, and so when I was watching this scene, I was thinking, man, this is how you film night scenes, because it just looks so peaceful. It's also interesting to mention that Stilgar told Paul to beware of the djinn. and then Zendaya appears in the middle of the night. I just thought that was funny. I don't know what Denis Villeneuve is referencing to that, but it seemed very clear that there was a joke about Zendaya. But I want to point something out to you. I haven't read the books, but if you remember in the first film, Paul has a vision of Chani killing him. That's in the first movie, so is there something there? I'm very interested. I haven't read the books, and I don't think I want to, just simply because the reason I loved this movie was because I just didn't see any of this coming. And so if I read Dune Messiah, I'm going to know what's going to happen in the third Dune film. And I don't really know if I want that. But yes, I would very much like to be equal to you is a note that I wrote. And I think the reason I wrote it is because that scene is so wonderful, filmed in Abu Dhabi, of course. And Timothy says to Z, please let me refer to them as their celebrity names. It's easier for me. Timothy refers to Z and says, I would very much like to be equal to you, which is juxtaposed by her saying, I will love you as long as you stay who you are. Which, oh man, it's such a tragic love story because Paul knows that he has to do this thing that he doesn't want to do, right? And it essentially transforms him into something that's actually dangerous, which, again, I'll speak about in a bit. From and wear blue when they fall in love. Yes, this is something I saw on Twitter. So Zendaya eventually wears like a blue band on her head, which apparently is a sign of love that Fremen use. I thought that was really adorable, but that's something that I saw on Twitter. Next note is riding a sandworm. Do I even need to speak about this? Do I even need to speak about why this scene is just fantastic? Amazing tension building, amazing cinematography, amazing score. I think this is the first time we hear the I think it is in the film. And if it is, again, Denis Villeneuve, and I said this in my non-spoiler review, he really does have good timing. I mean, that song became a meme after the first film. And so he could have used it a million times, but he chose not to. He chose to give it gravity and levity, which I think worked really well by giving it just those moments where, I think it was just 2 or 3 times in the film, where it was used at a very significant point and it wasn't used anywhere else. I think that's really great. It's amazing seeing that sandworm just pop out. The Dune popcorn bucket ruined it for me. Of course it did. And I'm glad that they don't sell them here because I would have bought one just to be a part of the hype. I wouldn't have done anything inappropriate with it. Well, I swear. I'm not sick. God. Zendaya intimate scene asking about his mom. So Zendaya and Timmy are having an intimate moment in a tent, and she's telling him about how his mom, Lady Jessica, is planting this prophecy that the Bene Gesserit have been planting for ages, just so he can go further into this chaotic experience. And it's interesting to me because when my dad walked out of the movie, me and him had totally different opinions on what that meant. So, for example, my dad would say, yeah, but the Bene Gesserit truly believe in this. And I would say, no, they were planting it. So it's really interesting because this is the kind of movie that you can ponder on and you can have discussions with people. In my honest opinion, the Bene Gesserit have been planting this for ages. I mean, controlling bloodlines and I don't know what. And so Lady Jessica, she literally says in the movie, when she's speaking to Aaliyah, Anya Taylor-Joy, in her stomach, by the way, she says, we need to target the weak and vulnerable first. That does not sound like a good person. I don't know. None of this sounds genuinely faithful. It doesn't sound like faith. It sounds like propaganda, which is so terrifying to me. But again, I love a movie that can, bring forth ideas, especially philosophical and religious ideas. That's why I loved Eternals. There they are down there. They're the Eternals. I loved it because it just made me think. Yes, I totally disagreed with a lot of what that movie was saying, but it made me think. And I love a movie that can make me think, especially a big budget one. Wow. Then, of course, Timothy discusses with his mom. Her idea is we gave them something to hope for, and Timothy goes, that's not hope! Really great performance by Timothée Chalamet, by the way. Really. Okay. Next note, I genuinely, it's Florence Pugh slaying politics. Florence Pugh does a great job in this film. She's only in it for a bit, but Florence Pugh is such a legend that her little role means a lot, and it's just because it is Florence Pugh. She is so amazing. And I love the conversation between her and her dad, the Emperor, where she says, "You underestimate the power of faith. And prophets get stronger when they die." She's so clever because she's studied with the Bene Gesserit and she's studied religion, and she knows that these patterns about the Lisan al-Ghaib and the Muad'Dib and the Mahdi are all things that the Bene Gesserit have planted. And so she's referring back to the Reverend, I don't know if it's the Reverend Mother, but the lady who told Timmy to put his hand in the box in the first one, that, hey, this adds up. This is our work. What if Paul Atreides is still alive? And then the Bene Gesserit woman says, hey, Elvis is coming. And then we get the amazing, maybe my favorite part in the film, the 20-minute segment in the Harkonnen planet, where you're just seeing Austin Butler do his thing. Which then I say, yes, black and white fade scene, sunlight. Yes. So you think that the world is black and white, but it's actually not. It's not a Denis Villeneuve, oh, let me pretentiously make something black and white. Their sun is black. You know what I mean? The sun is black, so whenever they go into the light, it turns into black and white. But when they're in the shade, it is colored. I think that's... I love creativity. And of course, maybe that's something in Frank Herbert's novel. Maybe that's his idea, but it is just so interesting to me. It gives you such a sense of dread in this world. And Austin Butler, even according to my dad has a real villain problem. He thinks most villains in films suck, whereas there are some really amazing ones like Voldemort, Thanos, etc. The Joker in The Dark Knight. This is one of them, according to him, and I agree, because Fade Rotha is such a terrifying villain. Like, truly terrifying. And that's all due to Austin Butler, because I saw clips of the 1984 version with Sting as Fade Rotha, and that was not intimidating at all. So yeah, 100% Elvis Presley, Austin Butler. Have you guys seen those TikToks of people making fun of his voice because he's doing the voice thing? So yeah, next note, Fade box scene. So the reason I wrote this is because Leia Seydoux plays the Bene Gesserit who lures him in, and it is really unsettling, but you realize that he likes it because he is such a psychopath. I think that's so weird. And you think that they're gonna maybe do something inappropriate, and she actually tells him to put his hand in the box and reveals the knife. The way the camera just panned to that is beautiful. Denis Villeneuve, you are an amazing director. It's amazing, it's phenomenal, just amazing stuff. Also, right after that, you find out that she got him to sleep with her and she is pregnant. So Fade Rotha has an heir. So if that's not something we, develop in the third Dune movie, I would be very disappointed, because that is an amazing thread that we can use, because it just looks really, really, really cool. Next note I wrote is thousands die because I gain control. Right, so Timmy is talking to Gurney, who's of course back now. I recognize your footsteps, old man. And Timmy says, if I go south, these people will worship me and millions will die. And Gurney asks, because you lose control, and Paul says, because I gain it. So the more powerful he becomes, the more dangerous he will be, which I think is so amazing, because I've never seen a hero fear his destiny. It's kind of like Anakin Skywalker, which is why I said, Star Wars ripped this off, because, with Anakin, he really does become a villain. Meanwhile, Paul is this gradual, transformation that is amazing due to Timothée Chalamet's performance, but I also wouldn't say villain. What I would say is Paul, you think Paul is the hero, but he's not. He's not a hero. Doesn't mean he's a villain, but he is not a hero. And I'll get to that in a bit. Then I wrote baby sandworm scene. So there's this woman who, by the way, gives an amazing performance. She's only in the film for 3 minutes, but she is stunning. And she has a baby sandworm, and she shows Lady Jessica how they take out the juice, the blue juice, the sandworm poison, or whatever it's called. And that scene is just so interesting. There's so much lore in this movie, which is another reason why I loved it. You know, there's so much to chew on, so much to fantasize about. It's so interesting. And Lady Jessica tells her straight up, a man will come here and you need to make him drink it. Yeah, because we need to make people believe that he is the one, okay? And she uses the voice on her to make her do it. Every time Lady Jessica uses the voice, or even Timothy later on, it is phenomenal, especially in IMAX. Guys, should I see it again? I might see it again. I'm gonna be honest. So, Timmy drank. That's the note I wrote. Timmy drank. The scene is amazing. Zendaya gives an amazing performance because she's standing over him, talking to Lady Jessica like, you did this, you fix it. Why would you do this to your own son? You're sick, you're twisted, you're insane. And then Jessica goes, do it! Like Palpatine. And Zendaya just gets up because she has no control over her body anymore. And it's interesting because you know that her Fremen name is Desert Spring, and apparently the prophecy says a tear from the Desert Spring will resurrect Paul Atreides, the one. And so Zendaya like wipes a tear and like dips it in the blue poison water and then puts it in his mouth, and then Timmy wakes up. And at that moment, everybody goes crazy because this is the South. They believe that he is the one. He is the chosen one. He is the Lisan al-Ghaib. It's so, which by the way, Lisan al-Ghaib. Okay, that's what it is in Arabic. So, what? It's so crazy to me. You know, because my dad said, hey, well, he was resurrected, right? He is special. He now sees visions. He is special. And then I would say anybody who drinks the poison and survives is special. So, you know, is it prophecy? Is it all coincidence? Is it planned? Is it predetermined by the Bene Gesserit? It's so interesting to think about. And if you guys are still watching this and you're hearing me rant, please leave a comment down below. I want to talk about it. Let's discuss this. And even if you've read the book, it's okay. Say it. Say whatever you want to say. If you want to use evidence, do it. I'm willing, as long as it comes from you guys. That way I feel like I'm not spoiling myself. I feel like I'm being enlightened by the Dune fandom. Where did we leave off? Anya, all caps, Anya Taylor-Joy. So Anya Taylor-Joy plays Alia, okay? And it is Alia. It's not Aliyah. It's Alia. And she is Timothée Chalamet's younger sister. Now, in the movie and in the book, she was already born by now. She's like 5 years old. And she's the one who kills the Baron later on. I'll get to it. But in this movie, she is still in her mom's stomach, and she is communicating through her womb, which I think is so cool. I mean, in the 1984 version, it looked really weird, and it didn't look intimidating, seeing this little girl with blue eyes like act like a psycho. So I think this change is better, but I'm interested to see, are they going to do a huge time jump? Because how are you going to make that baby, that fetus, Anya Taylor-Joy? You're going to have to jump 20 years. So is that what's going to happen? I'm interested to know. And then I wrote, I guess they used that when Timmy was resurrected. Then Anya Taylor-Joy tells Timothée Chalamet that Lady Jessica is actually Baron Harkonnen's daughter. Yeah. What? That was a twist that really got my entire theater the first time I went to see it at the premiere. It really worked because I was thinking, man, he is not only Atreides, but he is Harkonnen. Paul is both sides of the same coin, which I think is such a cool twist. And I'm guessing that is also something that was in the book, of course. This prophecy is how they enslave us. Yes, so we get to the big scene where everybody is just watching Timothée Chalamet give the performance of his life, by the way. Wonka is amazing, but this is even better. And I loved Wonka. And Timothy just commands the presence of a room. And what he does is, he is standing in this Colosseum-like area, and he addresses people and tells them about their past and their future and their desires. And that's what makes them believe that, oh, he is the one, because how else would he know all of this? And so again, that's, I find that confusing. So is he the one? I don't know. Is he? Is he not? I thought it was predetermined. Explain to me in the comments below. I'd love to know. And of course, Zendaya screams, Chani screams, this prophecy is how they enslave us. I feel so bad for her, truly. And by the way, the reason I know how to quote these lines is because I've seen the trailer over and over, and I've seen the movie twice now. It's becoming an obsession, which is exactly what I love about film. Get me to obsess over a movie, yes. Timmy talks about grandma and everyone believes him. Yep, I mentioned that. Bene Gesserit killed all the Arrakis and Florence just found out. What? Bene Gesserit killed all of the Arrakis and Florence just found out. Yes! Florence Pugh finds out that her dad did, execute all of the Arrakis people. Yeah, that's interesting. Sandworm attack on... Okay, so I wrote Sandworm attack on gang big fight sequence. Self-explanatory. It's wonderful. Grandfather dead, Baron Harkonnen. Timothy Chalamet walks in and he's like, oh, hey, grandfather, you die like an animal. It's so interesting seeing Timothy Chalamet transform in this film, because in the beginning, he is the same boy that he was in the first film. And by the end, you're scared of him. I was scared of him. Everybody was scared. These Funko Pops were scared of him. It was scary. And then I wrote, Brolin kills Drax. Brolin kills Drax. And then, of course, the big scene, right? And this is where I'm really gonna talk. So everybody's in this area, this room, really well lit, and Timothy goes up to Saddam, which, by the way, that is his name. It's Saddam. People will say Shaddam. Please. His name is Saddam, the emperor. And he goes, oh, hey, you killed my dad. I'm going to kill you. Right before that, he goes up to Zendaya and says, I will love you as long as I breathe. And then he goes back to him and says, I will marry your daughter. My entire audience gasped both times. What a loser. Truly, I love Florence Pugh. I have nothing against Florence Pugh. But if you're in love with someone and you tell them you're going to love them as long as you breathe, and then you walk right in front of Zendaya, by the way, right in front of Chani, right in front of her, literally seconds after saying that, walks up to a dad, the emperor, and goes, I'm going to marry your daughter. Yeah. And Chani's back there like, what? What? And the way Timothy and Paul, sorry, I keep saying Timothy, I'm sorry. The way Paul justifies it is by saying, I know that she will be okay with this. I have seen it. I have seen. He sounds like Stilgar, as it is written. Paul farts and Stilgar is like, as it was written. Poor guy. Honestly, it's just hilarious. May thy knife chip and shatter. So, fight between Fade Rotha and Timothy Chalamet. Best fight I've ever seen. Genuinely, in my entire life. Best fight ever. There has never been a better fight in cinema or even in real life. Yeah. And Paul kills Fade with an undercut, if that's what they call it. I don't know fighting lore. Undercut, which is exactly what Gurney did to him in the first film. Amazing callback. Then, of course, Paul says, hey, tell all of the ships outside that I am emperor now. I am king. I am ruler. They disagree, and so he tells the Fremen, and this is the quote, lead them to paradise, which essentially means kill them all. Anya Taylor-Joy asks her mom, what's happening, mother? And she says, the holy war begins. Okay. And once they all announce him as emperor, everybody bows down, and it's the greatest shot I've ever seen in my life. Genuinely, my eyes are watering because it's so well done. It's cinema. It's cinema. Cinema makes my eyes water. So everybody bows down, but the only people standing are Zendaya back here, Timothy here, and Florence Pugh there. And so everybody is bowing down, and you see them. and you see Zendaya's betrayal, Florence Pugh's awkwardness of, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be a homewrecker. I don't even know who you are, but I'm doing this so my dad doesn't get killed. And Timothy's like, I don't want to marry you either, but I'm gonna, even though I'm in love with that woman. It's a soap opera, and I love it. But the shot is beautiful. It's my favorite shot in the movie, and I know that's very subjective, but it's my favorite shot in the film. And the end of the movie is Zendaya. You know, Zendaya's like, no, I'm not doing this. I know that in the book, she's totally fine with it. She's like, okay, yeah, you marry her. Come sleep with me whenever you want. No, not this Chani, not Zendaya's Chani, because she actually respects herself. She leaves. And the ending of the movie is her looking up at this sandworm, and she's about to ride it. And it's such a wonderful, I don't know, I got such a wonderful feeling from that. It's also interesting to note that the beginning of the first film starts with Zendaya, and it ends with Zendaya. Because she is the Fremen. This story should be told from her perspective. Her people are the ones that matter. They are the ones being colonized. Very interesting. Yeah, this movie is perfect. I rambled for 25 minutes. What else can I say? Rebecca Ferguson is a superstar. Florence Pugh is a superstar. Zendaya is a superstar. Timothée Chalamet is the Daniel Day-Lewis of our time. Austin Butler is Elvis Presley. Apparently, Baron and Fade kissed twice. They cut that out here. I think that's hilarious. What do you mean they kissed? What? That's the weirdest. What? He's his uncle. I say that, but the House of the Dragon pops are up there. Oh, damn it. I love you all so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this, by the way. I don't think people are... If you watched all 26 minutes of this, I love you. Truly, I mean it. I love you. What? I love you. Thank you. Bye, guys.